Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jarvis Corner. This is Phil. You might not recognize me. It's been a while since I've been here. Can't wait to share this show with you tonight. So much to talk about, so much going on in the news at the moment. All this about the wage cap and what's going on with Ten Hag's tactics. Does he have any? Is Rashford staying? Are all the players gone? Are we just completely wiping us out and starting again? Find out tonight. Lots to talk about. Can't wait to see you all. Here we go.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharply to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to
Good evening, all, and welcome to Jarvis Cocker's Corner. As you just saw, Phil was doing the introduction, but it's Phil. It's good to have you back, pal. And we have Stu Wally on the panel, and of course, Tom, journalist one. And tonight, as Phil mentioned, we will talk about the game. We will talk about tactics. We will try to understand what is actually Ten Hag's tactics. What is he trying to do? And we will speak about Rashford, McTominay, Ahmad, Anthony, Højlund, all the players, and of course, Ten Hag. So first of all, I just want to go to my main man, Stu Woolley. How are you doing, Stu? And tell us a little bit about your latest in the weekend, because I'm dying to hear about the mighty Tipton Town.
Yes, the mighty Tipton Town. Well, first and foremost, I'm pretty good, actually. Yeah, I had a really good weekend. I've got lots coming up with work, etc. So, yeah, that's all good. I've been to the gym this morning, so I'm feeling pretty fresh still. So, all in all, quite good. The mighty Tipton Town. Well, let me see. So, we got a spanking. Yes, we got an absolute spanking.
What's going on?
We are, and I'm going to put my very best Eric Ten Hag hat on here, suffering dismally with injuries right now. So any of you that don't know, we're a super vets team, over 50s, anything from 50 to 60. So we turned up with 15 players. We played Sunday afternoon, actually, this week against Worcester City. And after 20 minutes, we lost 4 players through various injuries, groin.
Super wets.
Yeah, it's just quite embarrassing. So ultimately, no excuses, obviously. We got beat. Might have been 6, may have been 7-0. But we only effectively had 8 able-bodied men playing at any one time. I would like to say that the skipper had an absolute stormer. Not that it sounds like it, when you get beat. The other good bad thing about it is we had 5 clear-cut chances and we squandered all 5. So a bad day at the office. But you know what? You get up, you dust yourself down. We go training Tuesday. We've got 7-a-side tournament Wednesday, which hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll win. Bit of training Thursday. Back up Saturday afternoon for the mighty Tipton Town. So unfortunately, it was a spanking, but you know what? That's life. You get humbled, you get humiliated. It's how you deal with it moving forward. So let's just, it does sound like United Admiral Drake. You're absolutely right, fella. I was trying to think what Eric Ten Hag would say, and I think he would have gone along those lines. But let's see how we go. Let's see how we go Sunday. But not good, Jarvis, old friend, not good.
Yeah, okay.
Well, before we go, big up to everyone on the VAR room, Tom. Phil, good to have you back again, pal. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And
it's good to be on.
and of course my old mates, my old partner in crime, Jarvis, who's, by the way, he's changed his tyres today, and he's got some top drawer tyres on his motor. I'm sure he'll tell you about those a bit later on.
Yeah, well, it's just one of the things about living in the north. You know, we have to change from winter tires with spikes to summer tires.
I've got to pop this on from Madhouse. He's absolutely right. Nothing wrong with a spanking. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Yes.
Well, I will just introduce the next guest, and that's Phil. Phil, been a long time. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. And believe it or not, it's great to be back. I've not been on a podcast for nearly 3 weeks, something like that, anywhere in the world. It's just been a little bit manic, out of the way sort of thing. So much going on with family and things like that. So it's just been a bit busy. And when I have had the opportunities to come on, I've not had a chance to watch the match live or something random like that. So it's there was no point me coming on to discuss something I hadn't seen. And Jarvis, I was messaging Jarvis this morning, and he says, we'll review the game. I was like, well, I've not actually seen it yet, sort of thing. So I've been cramming it in, and I finished the game at about 10-9 this evening. So it's very fresh in my mind. Every kick, every tackle, every missed opportunity, every penalty shout, everything's in there. It's all up here right now. It depends on how long the show goes on. We're still in it.
Well, I didn't actually plan for you, Phil, to speak much about the game, much like general, more tactics. But now I know you've seen the game and everything is hunky-dory. Yes. So next up is Tom Journo. Journo, Tom, I saw you on Nuruddin's show earlier today. How you been, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, Jarvis. And everybody had a bit of a busy week and everything. Lots of paperwork and fucking usual jargon, but yeah, it's not been too bad. I hope everybody's doing all right and had a good week as well. Everybody in the VAR room, and let's have a good stream, lads. Anyway, Jarvis, Shield and Phil.
Sounds good. We will have a good stream, but we won't have a good stream without the VAR room, the legendary VAR room. And I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat already. We have Lillis, Jamie Wayne, it's Timmy. We have Admiral Drex, the Professor, Neil Driscoll, Big O Mate, and we have Red J, Madhouse with his crazy comments. So many of you guys always here. So thank you, and thank you again. We will try to address you as much as we can, but as usual on Jarvis's Corner, we tend to get into the discussions deep, and we will do a Q&A at the end of the show and bring all your questions in. So I hope that's okay. So first of all, I have planned to speak a little bit about the game, and I will have the focus on Ten Hag's tactics, because in my mind, I actually see things starting to improve, and we look as a team, not as individuals anymore. For me, I think the first 30 minutes in the game against the Burnley was good, almost the best I've seen this season as a unit, as we played out from the back and we actually controlled the game in a way with decent possession and patterns in a way. So that's good. Oh, my phone is. And the second half we went a little bit back to default again, starting to hoof it long and much more chaos than control. But this is my take on the game. I'm very interested in hearing your takes. And since Phil was the guy who just saw the game and have it fresh in mind, maybe you can start and give us your take about the match against Burnley.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I'm going to get absolutely slated by the VAR room and everybody who's listening, and anybody who comments after the show as well, because I'm glad I've watched it. I like to watch the games back myself. I don't want to just hear what the headlines are in the news that someone's written the day after, or the anger that someone's shown, or the frustration, or it's load of rubbish, get rid of us, we're not good enough, Ten Hag out, get this player out, get that player out. I like to watch it myself and assess it. The first thing I took from the game, the first 5 minutes, was absolute frantic, end to end. Looked like the last 5 minutes of a cup final, the way we were playing. And if we were like just all in the box, shoot, drilling, and fine, great start. and we got an okay start. Obviously, they had a first shot within about 30 seconds, something like that, and a team save for Onana. But after that, it was very end to end in the first 5 minutes with little control, and almost everybody just trying to get this early goal. I think something we need to remember. You'll get loads of people saying, "Oh, we're playing Burnley, bottom of the league." That was my first take when I saw the result. And then you think about it, you think, if they lost yesterday, they're relegated. They have got everything to fight for, every single sinew will strain with everything to give their all in that game. It's not just coming up at Old Trafford. It's not just Vincent Kompany trying to get one over on United. It's not. It's everything that they had left, literally. And so that is why I think from their perspective, they weren't sitting back respecting United or fear of the place. Obviously, the fear of the place hasn't really been there at all this season. But the way Burnley came at us, I think, was very toe-to-toe, end-to-end. There was counter-attacks upon counter-attacks for both sides. You know, you'd see United break forward, would have a chance, and then Burnley would get a good tackle or an interception, clear the ball, and they very quickly have 3-on-2 or 4-on-3, and they'd have us. They'd have opportunities to score, which they could have took. When I look back at the game, I think we squandered the most opportunities, and I was very impressed with the amount of opportunities we actually created that looked like real goal-scoring opportunities. Because in so many other games this season, we've seen half opportunities. And we're classing it as a shot on target, but it was like very tame, or it was classing it as an opportunity, and it really wasn't. I really feel in this game we created many opportunities. And once again, our final finish has just let us down. I think throughout the whole game, one thing I took was a massive positive. Our decision-making in the final third was much better than we've seen in lots of games. You weren't just seeing somebody's trying to shoot from random distances. There was one or two moments in the game, but you're going to get that because you've got to take chances. You've got to try and take a shot at times. But there was a lot better decision-making. To me, the biggest chance squandered, well, there were several, but, you know, that was the Wan-Bissaka one at the end where Højlund rolls it back to him. And he just on the end of the box, tried to almost take a step back and thinks, I'll just have another moment and I'll roll it out and I'll take it. It's like, just leather it, just stick your foot behind it. You know, you think like McTominay, Garnacho, Anthony, Ahmad, Bruno, Maguire. I think probably anybody else on that pitch would have absolutely just levered that. Dallo, anybody would have done. Onana, we must, whilst he's going to be slated all over the press, some people are still saying get him out and stuff. He made 4 quality saves in the first half. And that one he dug out, which was a reaction save from the Burnley header, which was going this way. He managed to twist his body around with his massive frame, dig his arm down, dig it out, and get power behind it and throw it out. Some really good saves. But again, that comes from the frantic play style from Burnley to United. I could go on because that's just summarising it, but I'll stop for now.
Yeah, interesting take, and I agree what you're saying when what you saw in the game, and I think you are pretty accurate about your description of what we saw in the game. And you know, we look at football differently. I always look at the structure of the team, how our formation is, where players actually are on the pitch. When you think of the ball, the distance, and stuff like that. So for me, I'm more of a tactician in a way. But game all in all was as you described, Phil. Tom, did you see the game the same way as Phil, or did you experience a different type of game?
No, I think Phil summarised it quite well, considering that he had fresh knowledge of the game and everything. I think, you know, first 5 minutes again, it was almost like a basketball match. It was the end-to-end feel to it. Neither team really had a grasp of the game or much control in the beginning of the game. I think as the game went on, particularly in the first half, from probably 5 minutes on from the first half, I think Manchester United probably kicked it up a gear, and it was more directness with the ball. That's the one thing that we've always said with United this season, is whenever we've been in possession of the ball against the opposition, it's almost been like hot potato. You have it, he have it, and we don't really know what to do with the ball in that case. I think in more and towards the end of the pitch, like Phil said, the decision making was a lot better between the players. I think the front line's decision making in terms of where they were actually directing or trying to go towards when they had the ball to feed was a lot better. We've seen it many a time with a lot of our players. Garnacho, I think, is probably one of his better traits of it. He will go direct. He will go to the byline with the ball if he needs to. And that's one of the slight criticisms that I guess you could launch towards maybe a couple of other players in the team. Anthony doesn't hardly do it enough, especially when he gets games. You see it with Højlund as well. Højlund looks, he looks isolated. He does. When you don't feed him the ball, you don't feed him chances, you almost look at the kid and you feel sorry for him because you're almost like, well, what's he doing there? You buy a number 9 to put balls into him or pump balls up to him. We don't do it enough, especially not in the box anyway. And when we have those sort of chances like we did in the first half, you've got to bury them. I'm sorry, you've got to bury them. We've had many a game this season. I mean, I can even go as far back as probably the start of the season. When we played against like Brighton, for example, 3-1, we should have been 3-4-0 up at half time. And we didn't do it in the game. And then in the second half, the opponent comes out, almost like prime Mike Tyson and, goes full throttle for you. And you get the brunt of it. And I think, especially in the second half, look, even with 09, I give him as much stick as I could with the Champions League debacle because it was shameful. And, in the big moments, in big competitions, I expect the goalkeeper arguably to be the coolest, calmest player on the pitch. And in big pressure situations, he hasn't been. But I think ever since he's come back from AFCON, in particular, I think he's been immense. I really do. I think most of the goals that we've conceded and leaked, I don't think he could have done probably more towards any of them, to be honest with you. I think yesterday, he had the mistake. We saw that exact same, highlight clip, first game of the season against Wolves. VAR had an absolute nightmare and it wasn't given, fortunately. But in this game, listen, they're going to resurrect what they did at the start of the season. And it was ironic that it was the exact same player that had done it. So they're not going to make the same mistake twice. We knew it was going to happen eventually in the game. But like Phil said, Burnley, they come up to Old Trafford. They've got nothing to lose. They need to win. They needed to either get a win or draw. Worst of all, they couldn't lose the game. That was it. They could not lose that game. And by hook or by crook, they wanted to fight. They wanted to fight in the game. They wanted to play for the duels. And the one thing that you can say with Burnley is they actually play a decent brand of football. For a team that's at the bottom end of the table, I think when they have the ball, they know what they want to do with it. But as defensive setup, they struggle. And I think they struggle because they've lacked the leadership that's left them for the last couple of years with Tarkowski and players of that ilk who are almost like the stalwarts of that defence. I think they've lost that identity. But no, I think, listen, at the end of the day, Man United's culpable for it because we didn't take the chances in the game. And if you don't take your chances at this level of football, especially against a team that's desperate, Burnley are desperate for anything at this point in time, a point or all three of them. Listen, they're going to do whatever they can to get it. They got the penalty. It was a penalty. It was a stonewaller. They scored. But I don't blame that on Burnley or Manchester United's defensive setup. If the attacking players in front of you aren't putting the ball in the back of the net, based upon that they're not supplying your goal line gunman in Højlund, what are you going to expect? It's going to have to be a wonder goal from Garnacho or something special. You see that maybe once every 3 or 4 matches, that kind of goal where somebody just ignites it. But most of the goals are 18-yard box goals. And we don't feed Højlund enough anyway. So I do feel sorry for the kid. I will give props up to Onana, especially for the first half. I think to be honest, he kept us in the game with a lot of those saves. But no, I think probably a better representation of the team than what we've seen in recent weeks. But it's not getting us results, guys, though. It's still not getting us results. We're not, putting teams to bed. And look, we've already said it. The Premier League's done and dusted anyway. I couldn't care if we finished Europa League, Conference, out of Europe. I'm not arsed either way, guys, to be honest with you. So all I see this is almost like a bombing run up to the FA Cup final and then have a pop and see what you can do against City. That's all I see this anyway. But I wouldn't be too asked if he played youngsters for the next couple of games, guys, just so he got some players back fit for that FA Cup final, because he needs as many players as he can fully fit for that final. Because if anything, the only thing that's going to save his job is that's the only thing, because he's already missed out on the one thing that you could argue in his point to stay in is the Champions League. And with what we've seen today with the spending cap on Premier League football clubs, I know we'll get onto it anyway, but that's not going to help Manchester United when we have one of the highest wage bills in the Premier League. So it's going to have to cut down some way. And look, that's INEOS's job and the hierarchy to find a way to work around that. But no, it was a better representation of the players this time anyway. But we need to keep it up. And more or less, guys, we need to just bury the chances. That's all we need to do.
Yeah. Hold that thought for later when we will talk more about the spending cap. And I would like you, Tom, to introduce it for us and tell us how it is now, because I don't know the details myself, so I will be interesting to hear that. Next up, Stu Woolley, how did you see the game, my friend? Because I haven't heard your take on it yet. Were you positive or negative to the game? Now we're talking about the performance, not the result.
Yeah, a bit of both, actually. I think both Phil and Tom, as usual, summed it up perfectly, really, in terms of the way that we played. You've got to love Man United because we revel in chaos, and chaos is actually what both Tom and Phil have described, but in a more articulate way than what I will, because I thought the game was chaotic. We have a real issue of identifying team weaknesses, opposition weaknesses, and doing something about that, whether it be a left back, whether it be a right back, whether it be the central midfield, centre half, or whatever. We don't hone in on a weakness. Tom made reference to boxing, and one of the things you look for in boxing is a weakness in your opponent immediately, and you start to exploit that. And we don't necessarily do that from a team point of view. And not even from an individual point of view either. And so that's where the chaos actually comes from and originates from, in the way that we're trying to play football. And I think, again, both Phil and Tom were right. You know, what Ten Hag and Jarvis, when he's back, what Ten Hag's trying to do is slowly seeping through a very, very thick cloth, and you're just about seeing the liquid bubble up to the surface, and we've got to break through that now so that it starts dripping from that cloth. And I think the only way to do that is to maybe, as Tom suggested, start resting some of these players and start utilizing what youth that we've got currently, which, by the way, is pretty impressive if you look at the under-18s in particular, the way they've dominated their cup and their league this season. And then maybe we look to win the FA Cup and try and find a route into Europe that way. I wasn't overly impressed with anyone in particular at the weekend. Again, the lads were spot on with the likes of Højlund. I think Mark said that, and I haven't seen those stats, Mark, so correct me if I'm wrong here, pal, but I think you said that Højlund had 13 chances created, which is fair enough, but you've got to take one, maybe two of those, or at least make the goalkeeper, have to make a decision himself. And we don't seem to be in a situation.
Sorry, Stu, just stop before you move, because obviously we move on to that from that point. I can't remember the 13 chances that Højlund was created.
I think
if they're talking where the ball came to him and he had 3 players on his back or something like that, and they had to try and roll them. But there was no clear-cut chances that he missed that I can recall.
Mark might be talking about something else.
Please throw them in, just because I've just finished watching the game, and I just don't. In line with what you're saying, Stu, I'll be creating the chances for him, and that's why I just wanted to interject. Sorry.
Not when he's facing goal or not.
It's not big chances. Yeah, Mark's just clarified it. Yeah, it's not big chances. Yeah. Okay. No, I get that. No, that's a good point that you raise, Eva. And you're absolutely right about what can he do differently. And me and Tom have spoken about this, and Jarvis on quite a lot of occasions, about his ball retention, how he backs into centre halves, his movements. The McTominay goal a couple of weeks ago should have been a Højlund goal, where McTominay was, and he put it in. That's where Højlund should be. So, things like that. But he'll learn that. But unfortunately, he hasn't got anyone of any note. He hasn't got a Harry Kane. He hasn't got a Cristiano Ronaldo. He hasn't got an Ibrahimovic to learn from, to learn his movements, which I think, I personally think that'll get addressed in the summer somewhere along the line. We'll bring in a striker experience, but Ultimately, what I'd say is, as much as the game was chaotic, we should have been out of sight.
Yeah.
In terms of the result, and but again, you're both right, and I've said this a lot, and Phil and Tom will know this. I always talk about the underdog, and there's never really an underdog in professional football, because ultimately, whether it's Burnley, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, whoever, you're still dealing with 11 professional footballers. You're still dealing with footballers that are playing the game day in, day out, training hard. And Burnley could have got relegated. We could have sent Burnley down yesterday instead. Sheffield United went down, didn't they, by virtue of their loss, and Everton survived over this kind of weekend. So a lot kind of changed. So I think for me, and I know we're going to talk about it after, so I'm not going to move into that now. I think the way that you described it, you two, was great. I think it's our lack of being able to identify the weakness and actually exploit that weakness, which is one of our biggest problems now. Our ball retention was very, very good. Our speed and our pace on occasions was very, very good. On occasions, it was woeful. I think we'd all admit that. Tom was absolutely right, spot on the nail with Onana. We were all very, very critical of him until he went, go to the African Cup of Nations, please. Just get away from our goal. And then all of a sudden he's come back a completely different goalkeeper. Harry Maguire again has stepped up. He really has stepped up to the plate, and he's been one of our consistent performers. And then last year's consistent performer in Casemiro has been woeful all season. I mean, he has been disappointing all season.
Apart from the game against Burnley, where I specifically analysed his game because I wanted to see how he was performing at centre-back. And the other game against Coventry, you see Dalot, where we can see that goal, Dalot pointing, saying, get in this area, and he doesn't. And to be fair, it's a learning curve for Casa. And now I'm not sure of this. Can someone correct me if I'm wrong? Is it first time he played centre-back when he's played it for United? Or has he played it for Real Madrid in the past?
No, he's played it for Madrid. He has played it in the past. Only once or twice.
Not much. I heard the commentators say that Casemiro haven't played this position more than a handful of times.
It's harsh to criticise him. You're quite right, Phil.
I think he made one mistake in the game, which was obviously the header, which Onana blamed for punching. But had Onana stayed on his line, there's no way he should have stayed on his line. And there was two defenders, essentially Casemiro and Wan-Bissaka were around the player who jumped for it. If none of them were going to get a header on it, that player was facing backwards to the goal on an angle. There was no way he was going to score off it. The best he was going to get was a flick on. So Onana stays on his line. If Wan-Bissaka and Casemiro miss it, then Onana's there to claim it. It's simple as that. So that's where Onana's wrong.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, if you're going to go in and attack the centre forward, you make sure you attack your central defender first. So the central defender should be getting in between the centre forward and you attack your central defender, because they can't give a foul against you smashing the shit out of your own centre half. Because I've been there, and I'm there and I'm waiting for the keeper to come in, crash me, and then I go in like that, make sure my arms are away, go in like that, fall to the floor. It's just an accident. It's just football. But he didn't, and he comes in and he absolutely cleans him out, doesn't he? A little bit like he did against Wolves in the first game of the season. But look, it's just one of those. It was quite a chaotic game. We did have some control, and I just think that the season's petering out. It's one of those. It really is. The season is petering out for us. We don't know where we're going to finish. We've got to make sure whatever we do, we push a good account of ourselves in the FA Cup, and we stop City potentially doing another double.
Mm-hmm. We hope we can stop them, but it won't be easy. It won't be easy. I can give you a little bit of what I saw from a tactical point of view, and first of all, the build-up was really very good, and we solved it. I spoke about this several times on different streams and on this channel. Our build-up was really good because we solved the solution, because Burnley were pressing, man marking with two strikers high up the pitch on each of our centre backs, but we solved it easy by splitting the centre backs wide. So we created an opening centrally for Onana to he was very patient. He was standing on the ball, waiting for the signal to come, and Eriksen and Mainu to drop down. And when they moved, Eriksen is good on the ball, Mainu is good on the ball, and we always had an out for the wide centre back. So we put Onana, played it in centrally, and from the midfielder out to Casemiro or Maguire. And this made us very effective in our build-up play, because as I've been speaking about before, it's the build-up play for Ten Hag is the 3-1 formation, 3-1-6, and we are not many people playing out. We're always under pressure. We have no numerical advantage. The only numerical advantage we have is Onana. So for this to work, Onana needs to be calm. He needs to be calm and he needs to be precise. And we saw that in the first half. So we controlled the ball up to the midfield. And Bruno didn't have to drop down all the time. So we didn't lose the ball deep on the pitch. When we lost the ball, it was higher on the pitch and we weren't that vulnerable. And Bruno is good higher up the pitch, because then he can create, he can set up the ball. And we actually went both left and right while attacking. Anthony was good, and Garnacho was really involved in the game. So for me, this is what I would like to see: more control, not a complete chaos. When we came into the second half, we started to forcing it. We're starting to force the game. We wanted that goal. It was still 0-0. And when the boys came out after halftime, you saw it in their eyes. Everybody was pushing higher. They're pushing. And we started the first 2 minutes. I think it was the 45th and 46th minute. Onana had given 3 long balls from behind up to Højlund, because everybody was pushing high. So there was, again, a big stretch. We didn't have the patience in our game as we had in the first half. So everything changed in the second half. And we started again with the I call it firing rockets from Onana to Højlund. So we did a substitution. Ten Hag did the substitution because Højlund was working all the time. He had to run because he had so many long balls coming at him. So we had to drop down and make him self-available. And Ten Hag, he subbed Højlund for Diallo. And suddenly we did something different. We started to play football again when Diallo came on, because we didn't hoof the ball to Højlund. Because Diallo is not like a what you call it, a guy you want to play long balls to. So we had Bruno and sorry, I just have to check my notes, and Diallo up there. And what happened actually is Bruno and they both played as a false number 9, I would say, or a hybrid 10 or 9.5 or whatever. So both they interchanged a lot. So it wasn't so easy for the Burnley defense to know how and where to press when we played. And another thing that was really good was I just want to see here how Eriksen played. Actually, Eriksen was good. He was distributing the ball a lot. And
he started off rusty with a couple of mistakes, but I agree. He grew into the game, and you could see him getting his play back. Yeah, I think that a lot of the forward play came from him. Where normally we would receive the ball in the midfield, look to pass it out to the side, thinking who can I make that pass to, who can I make this pass to. But his first thought was get that ball forward, whip a through ball through over the top, through ball through, along the ground, whip a ball out to one of the wings, sort of thing. And a lot of forward play came from him. And we've missed that. Unfortunately, he is getting towards the end of his career, but I think he made a big difference to our how much forward play we did have yesterday.
I agree with that. I agree with that, Phil, because he took it on a half turn a lot. You're absolutely right. What we lack up front, and that's by all of our players, is the ability to take it back to goal and then do something with it. You know, make a turn, make a touch, spin in behind. We lack that. So what Jarvis talks about when he's talking about Onana's play, Onana's actually, you're talking about direct play, aren't you? Very similar to the way that we played against City in the first half, and then we kind of reverted to type. which is what Phil was saying. But that directness, where you can sometimes cut out Ericsson, should allow the likes of Garnacho, the likes of Diallo, the likes of Rashford, whoever's playing Anthony, whoever's playing out on the wings, should be able to take it back to goal and then cut inside. That's it. That's one of the ideas.
It's about the signal. I mentioned the signal because we see the Serbi do this all the time. You have signal players standing with the foot on the ball, waiting for the press, and when the signal comes, you do something, because the Serbi's tactics is very, very special. You have counter-attacking possession. It's counterintuitive in a way. How can you have possession and play counter-attacking at the same time? But the Serbi do that.
Yeah.
He stands deep, hold on to the ball, and when the signal comes, and we saw it especially last season with McAllister and Caicedo interchanging position, dropping down to the center back, receiving the ball, and get them themselves free from their marking. So we saw something similar to last game with our team, and that was pretty interesting, because I haven't seen this before with Manchester United, and we did it over and over again. So it must have been rehearsed and part of the plan. And another thing was with the wide center backs, we always had an out, because if the two strikers of Burnley blocked the central area, we had acres of space to run into with our center backs, who was almost like full backs at the moment, because Onana just lofted the ball over. We saw it with Maguire time after time, receiving the ball in the fullback role on the left and carrying the ball upward and up the field, and we did it with control. So these are the things that I like to see, and I would like to see more from Ten Hag. And actually we look very balanced, both vertically and horizontally, because of, I don't know, I think since we lacked Rashford, for example, we looked more in balance. So
I think what we need, one of the things that I know the show is about other things as well, but with regards to Anthony, I thought he was probably one of his best games this season, not just because of his goal, but because of his desire to be successful.
Yeah.
He's tracking back. There was moments in the game, I can't remember, about the 60th minute, something like that, 60th minute. He was on the right wing. He sprinted to the centre midfield, broke down the attack, sprinted to right back, broke down the attack, and it was that sort of play throughout. And when he was going forward, he wasn't just trying to one-trick pony and go down the outside or go on the inside. He was varying his game. He was cutting back. He was making a pass. He was trying to put a cross in. And obviously his goal was about still reading the game in the 88th minute with that full energy, that full effort. You could see he put literally everything into that goal, where he's stumbling. Probably could have had a penalty, but he wouldn't have got it anyway. And then he just managed to stick his foot out and stretch as he's falling over. He literally gave his all. You could see it. And that is what we've been asking for him all season. And obviously to get his first goal, he deserved to stay on. Garnacho deserved to stay on, because he had his best game as well. He was taking on Burnley players again. There's a couple of moments in the game, maybe 3 or 4 times, he lost possession where he was trying to take somebody on and hit it straight at them or something like that. But I think there was several players. I know you said before, Stu, nobody really stood out for you, but I don't know if that's because they all did or nobody did. But for me, several players stood out for the Burnley game. There was Garnacho, and you can say what you want about it being Burnley. I've seen some of the comments in the chat room, but there was Garnacho, there was Anthony, Bruno, who I thought had a really good game in terms of his passing, his energy as always is always there. You can never take that away from him. But his actual passing was a lot better. There was a couple overhit towards the end. He had some good shots. He had some great passing. He had some great vision. He wasn't trying to pass it back all the time. There was a couple of moments, but when you create that many opportunities and that many runs, you're going to make a couple of mistakes. You're going to run out of energy when you get to the end of a pass. But he was running forward. He was trying to break into the area. He was trying to defend deep. He was everywhere. And I thought Casemiro, apart from that header, which we know was potentially his fault first, not getting enough on it, was everywhere. He was playing centre back, and towards the end he was having more shots. He was in and around the Burnley box more than anybody else. Maguire was made some really good runs, breaking out from the back, going down the wing. But the one thing that all this created was a problem, which we spoke about so many games in the podcast afterwards, is the big gap that we're leaving. We're all pushing forward trying to score that goal, and then there's just that massive gap at the back where we're leaving ourselves vulnerable. And it's so easy to get through our midfield. One quick pass from the wing cut it inside, and you've got nobody left. They know what they're doing. So many teams are playing this against us. We're now creating chances that look like real chances. If we keep doing this and take our chances, we don't need to worry at this moment about the counter-attack because we've just scored and it's back in the centre circle for a kickoff. That's it. But when you're not taking your chances, as we're not, you've got to leave more support at the back to cover that counter-attack because we're so vulnerable to it all the time.
Yeah, exactly right.
But Phil, did you notice when you saw the game today that when we started to play the ball long in the second half, everything opened up and Burnley got into a lot of chances because when we try to transition and lose the ball because we play with a high risk, they receive the ball and try to transition us again over and over, and then we saw the big gap in midfield again.
Yeah.
So when we lose control and start forcing it, start to play with chaos, we expose ourselves in a way for more transitions. And I saw that especially from the 50th minute to, I would say, 65 minutes, Burnley created a lot of chances in that amount. Yeah. So I can't fully understand if this is part of Ten Hag's plan, playing as direct or not.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Burnley, and you're right about the transition, we've spoken about that a lot, haven't we? But actually, for Burnley to be more effective, they could have slowed the play down once they did hit on the break. And what I mean by that is have more control. They lost their thought process and their pattern a lot, and which is why they didn't really, although they created a lot of chances, they just weren't clinical enough. If you watched Forest yesterday, actually, great example. The City Forest game is very similar to the way that Manchester United and Burnley kind of unfolded, except that City popped in 2 and Forest didn't. But Forest had 3 or 4 clear-cut chances. Chris Wood in particular had one chance, which my gran, bless her, she's still alive, would have scored, but he completely lost it. I mean, as a professional footballer, as an elite footballer, to get giddy and excited as the ball comes across to you is unacceptable. And that was Burnley's issue. And so our problem with higher grade opposition would be they would be more methodical with their play, more clinical in their distribution and their passing and then their finishing. So we were quite lucky in many respects that Burnley didn't quite know what to do with the advantage that we did give them that advantage. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. Quick question on the City game. You mentioned it was very similar. Did you see the Edison punch on the Forest player?
Yeah, amazing.
And they said, "Oh, are you okay, Edison?" Gave him some finger and gave him the ball back. It was like, hang on a minute. I've just watched United lose a goal again for Onana doing the exact same thing the day before. And
it's crazy, wasn't it?
On the yeah, I was just checking if I'd misseen that Edison.
Oh no, it's true.
I put it in social media asking people's opinion, and a couple of people came back to me saying, "Well, yeah, you're talking rubbish," and a couple of people saying, "Yeah, how was it not a penalty?" So, yeah, seriously, VAR. We could have had 3-4 penalties yesterday, 2 clear cut and 4 seriously that could have been.
I thought 2 were clear cut at least. Yeah,
kick where he's tripped.
Yeah, I thought
the one on Garnacho, I think, was the clearest. When you saw it on the replay, you could see he was nowhere near the ball, and that was a penalty for me. But we know VAR; they never give us anything, and it's just the way it is. This is the season. VAR wants to take Man United down. Yeah, and we have seen lately Ten Hag being more critical in the news.
Fighting back, isn't he? Yeah, he's fighting back.
And I like what I see. You know, we need more of that. You see other managers, Arteta, Pep, Klopp, everybody, when they have something like similar, they go right back, they fight back. But Ten Hag is always like being, no, it is what it is. It's football. So I would like to see more of that. And have you seen a change in Ten Hag's, I would say, persona recently?
Yeah, his demeanor's gone.
Stu, are you there?
Yeah, his demeanor.
No, Tom, sorry.
Yeah.
Tom.
No, apologies, Jarvis. Go on, what?
Yeah. I just want to see if you have seen the change in Ten Hag lately during the interviews and the way he talks.
So I guess you could say that. Yeah, I don't know. You know, we don't know what conversations are obviously happening behind closed doors and everything. But I think if you're basing this season off of the performances, you're probably going to look at it from Ten Hag's point of view, and you would be disappointed with what the players have dished up for you. Because I don't know, like we said before, there've been questions about what they've actually been even doing in training going into some matches. Look, you can't coach a player to be clinical on the day. That has to come from the player. You can coach players to be in the right areas, put them in the right areas in the 18-yard box where the opposition's weakest. For example, if they're weak at the back post or they're weak in and around, the cut back like we have been this season. You can put players in the right areas, but it's the players themselves that have to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think it's even with the way, like I said, he's been speaking in some of the things that he's come out with, he's almost gone on the defensive with statistics. When a manager's going on statistics, this is just my personal opinion, I don't normally like statistics when it comes to managers. When it comes to a manager, I'd rather you speak about what's happened here and now and on the day, not what's happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. I want to hear what you've got to say for right here and now in terms of a question. So when you get asked, for example, and he gets questions a lot about Manchester United's shots that they go against them and how many shots they concede in games, he goes on the defensive in terms of, well, Manchester United have had XYZ clean sheets since I've been here, or he'll use some sort of a statistic that might be legitimate from, say, a year ago, but not in context of, say, today or that game in that particular day. Rather than just fronting up and saying, look, the defence or whatever, they didn't have track of Burnley's players or whatnot, especially in the 18-yard box, like Phil said earlier, when Onana had to pull off the clutch saves that he did. Listen, I know we're losing the set-piece coast to go off to America or wherever. To be honest with you, we don't score enough from set-pieces, and we certainly don't know how to defend them, because defensively from set-pieces, I don't know how many times we've been solicited to the cutback this season. But nobody's even put that question to Ten Hag. Correct me if I'm wrong, in the last couple of weeks. I don't think a journalist or an interviewer ever put the question of, why haven't you and your coaching staff gone away and solved the problem of Manchester United conceding so many cutbacks in games? Has any journalist or any reporter asked him that question? They haven't, no. And, I think with Ten Hag, listen, he's coming out with the right... he's saying sort of the right things, but some of the things... One thing that he said in particular that I would question massively, when he said about that Manchester United aren't fit to challenge for the Premier League next season, we know this, Eric, but you don't say that in public. That's the one thing that I think that will go against him massively. And I think the people who are above him, who will make the final decision at the end of the season on his future, if you don't look at that as an indicator as to, does this guy even believe in this job anymore, or believe that he can take this come forward? If you believe that you can take Manchester United to a title, everything's possible. You could have a fluke season. We saw it with Leicester City. It can happen. We've seen it with other big football clubs when they get to the nitty-gritty of it. Listen, nobody thought that Arsenal was going to emerge after they had that debacle in the Champions League when they didn't make the Champions League running for that following season. But the following season, they challenged for the title with City. Nobody could foresee that coming. Nobody could see what Liverpool had built for the last couple of years. They got to a Champions League final. They won it. They kicked her and then got the Premier League. This is what I'm talking about. It can happen. Football's a weird game. You can have an amazing pre-season with a group of players, and suddenly they're inspired and they're envisaged, and then you're ready to go. But when your manager comes out and says, we're not built to play that way, and even when I have all my players back, we're probably only destined for top four. Listen, top four's a slug out now at Ten Hag, mate. Even if he has all these players back, to be honest with you guys, I think Villa, are quite solid. They've got a manager who adapts to every single team that they play against. He's very tactically astute. And he's got, I don't think he's got his full squad, Emery. I look at managers in Postecoglou who's had injuries this season. But listen, Ten Hag, you can come out with all the one-liners and all the different words that he wants to come out with. But if you're going to go on the defensive and say about stats and then turn around to me and say that Man United aren't built to fight for a Premier League title, let alone win it, I'm concerned, because that's what you've been brought here to do, Eric. You've been brought here, first of all, say for the first 2 seasons, build towards trying to do that. And arguably in a lot of people's minds, third and fourth season, I want you to actually deliver that title in the end. But he can come out fighting all he wants. But if you're going to come out with statements like that, I'm concerned first and foremost for what you're actually doing here still, because that's the aim for Manchester United, to win the Premier League. And second of all, you've been told that you've got the backing from the people above you, apparently. He says it many a time that I believe I will be here next season and that I have the backing from the hierarchy above. I've been given assurances. If you've been given assurances, I don't think you should have been given assurances on the preemptiveness of that. Well, Man United aren't going to challenge. No, if you go to your boss and you say to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, we're not going to. There's no possibility at all that we're going to challenge for the title next season. I'd be very concerned if he's gone there and said that, because if he has gone there and said that, I don't see how he'd keep his job. But like I say, guys, it's all behind closed doors and everything, so we'll wait and see. But listen, he comes out with statistics and he can back them up with things that have happened maybe months and a year ago. But no, not with statements like that. It does mad him when a manager says things like that. And it wouldn't just be at Manchester United. If they did it at any football club, I think they'd be concerned.
But Tom, don't you think it's refreshing for Ten Hag to be honest? Because let's face it, we won't challenge for the league next season anyway.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair. Yeah, you can be honest, Jarvis. But you're at Manchester United. You're at the biggest football club in the world. You're going into a third season that you've been at this football club. Arguably, he's had £400 million to spend on a squad. If he does stay, he will have more money to spend on more players, so he can add to the squad that he's already trying to build or what he's trying to build towards. You don't come out with statements saying that there's no guarantee, there's no possibility at all Manchester United can win the league. Listen, I'm not a deluded fan. I don't expect Man United to win the league, but challenging for it, that's the next stage. You've gone to trying to maintain top four. We got top four last year. We haven't this season. We've had a setback. Okay, if he stays another year, next season I want to either be guaranteed minimum top four, potentially be in that race up until say now. And if we fall away, we fall away. I don't expect us to win the league. No. But you can. What was the question, honest,
Tom,
Jarvis,
that led to Ten Hag saying that?
I think what they asked him was, in terms of your expectations going into the future, should you stay as Manchester United manager, going into next season, what would your expectations be? I think was the sort of question that was worded. But telling the truth
is that not a Ranjik style response then, where everyone was praising Ranjik for saying the truth, and then they were complaining when he got turfed out. All right, he wasn't a coach, but at the end of the day, they were complaining because he got turfed out for speaking the truth. Now Ten Hag is speaking the truth. Is he kind of nudging the board, saying we need to sort this out, we need to clear out some of the deadwood as where we are right now? We ain't going to do anything. Things have got to change. Is it not an opportunity to say worldwide, publicly to everybody, right now we can't do it? It's not I can't do it, it's we can't do it. Mourinho came in and said when he said the best you'll get out of this team is second, sort of thing. We know what he said. Ten Hag's took him to 4 cup finals or wherever it is, to the final round, sort of thing. And so Ten Hag has done some good things, but and I will harp on about this. I don't care what anybody says. With the amount of injuries we've had to key players for such lengths of time, has to impact your season. You can only do so much. When you think you've got Casemiro now playing centre back, which means that we're impacting our defensive midfielder, which means that everything's a knock-on effect. You've got Dalot, who's supposed to be our right back, playing left back because our 2 left backs are gone, and the regular who we let go is playing quite well for Brentford. And you're seeing all these things. There's so much that's wrong behind the scenes that's led to this as well, And I just think that speaking the truth, sometimes when he's not actually saying, like Mourinho did, Shaw doesn't know how to defend and stuff like that, that is not acceptable to the press. That is pointing fingers at individuals. This is saying, as a team right now, we can't make it. And I was reading, I can't remember who it was. I saw an interview the other week. It might have been the Dele Alli interview or something very recently that was on anyway. And they were saying that when a new player comes to the club, it spurs the rest of the team on because they're encouraged by this new talent that's joined them and that it's going to help them, sort of thing. the end of the day, they're human, and you know, they know that they had all these wealth of players come in. You know, Mount, we know what he's done in the past, and we've seen moments, few tiny moments of what he still can do. And obviously, apart from injuries done him in, we know Amrabat was probably the wrong signing. I think Onana is trying to, when you've got a new goalkeeper who's trying to bed into a team and learn his way in a new league with a new style, he's got to have the same back four in front of him, or at least three of the four, for a long period of time to be able to learn to play together. And so many people are saying, like, oh, you can't blame it on the injuries. Yeah, you can. You really can. There's so much on it. How would you build a style of play? You know, as a kids football coach, I know we've got like 15 kids, something like that in our team. And I know what those individual, and I know it's not Premier League, so don't get me wrong, but the similar principles are there. I know what certain players can do. I know if those players aren't available on the Saturday, then we can't go with that sort of style of play. We're going to have to change something. We're going to play somebody in a different position, which means that we've got to adjust our play, or we know that we're not going to be successful in this move, or we're going to play. Do you know? And that's just with kids. But the same principles are there. If you've not got the players who are there in those set positions to play their roles, you're trying to make do with everything from the back to the front. And I just think it's hard.
The interesting thing about that, Phil, and Tom and Jarvis, and I'll give you just a quick snippet from a journalist. It was one hell of a lazy fucking question. It was designed for a specific answer. It was designed to fill column inches. And this is the problem with journalism today. On one hand, you want to be seen to be a journalist of ethics. And on the other hand, your job is to fill column inches and get clicks and views. And unfortunately, that was that question. That's exactly what that question was designed to do, is to create a conversation, to create some kind of sentence or word or phrase that can be used, which will enable journos, etc., to sell papers and sell lines. What's massively interesting about where he is right now in his evolution as Manchester United manager, it is an evolution. He is having to evolve. I think you're right, Phil. I'll take Tom's point as well about certain things, certain criteria about where we are, injuries, how we've been playing, etc., etc., etc. But he will have a zero idea right now about what he can and what he can't achieve next year as a manager until he understands the structure that is above him. And until you get that in place, until you have some kind of communication from Berrada, from whoever, it doesn't matter who, to tell you what that structure is going to be. Here's our goal. How are you going to get to and achieve that goal? It's a difficult question for anyone to answer right now. It really is. It's almost a minefield out there. And that's the problem he has as our current manager.
Mm-hmm. Good. And I would say welcome Nuruddin on the show. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you.
Nuruddin, where's Tom gone?
I don't know where Tom.
Battery probably died. His battery died. His battery dies often.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Nora, did you follow the discussion and what we were talking about?
A little bit. I've just had a problem with my internet, so I was fixing the internet. But what was the question? Was it about the journalist asking Ten Hag?
It was a quick, yeah. I mean, I'm a journalist, Nuruddin. I don't know if you knew that. Mainly in bikes, MotoGP, World Supers. That's where I operate. But I was just making a point about the way the question was structured, why the question was structured, why it was answered. And you know as well as I do, it's to gain conversation,
of course,
which is what we're having here.
It's column inches, isn't it?
Yeah, that was my take on it. Yeah, that was my take. And then Phil was talking about, yeah, go on, Phil. Sorry, mate. Tell
no,
it's
fine. I've been reading the panel, so I forgot what I said. Brilliant. If you can give me a quick recap, I'll remember exactly what I said. But I was trying to read the panel's questions.
It's been gone 3 weeks. He's thinking, how can I? I'm gonna have to make me mark on the show.
I was trying to read the panel's comments to see if there's any questions that needed answering, sort of thing, and then I lost my own trail of thought.
No, that's one thing I do want to bring up. Not normally, everybody. I've got to knock off early today. I'm afraid I've got to go and pick up my lads. Apologies about that. So, guys, normally we've got about 11 to 12 questions starred, and we've only got 3 at the minute. So get them in. If Mr. Structure's staying, Phil Standish obviously, and Jarvis, get them in for these guys, because there's a fountain of knowledge here, everybody, and you want to start drinking.
It's a fountain of opinions.
Cool. Okay. We can There's a little bit of knowledge here, and then you've got Mr. Standish. I'm joking, pal. I'm kidding, mate. I'm kidding. I love you, really.
We can just move on to the next segment, because now I want to talk about the latest news and what's been going on in the ether, and the latest news is players for sale, and there was a tweet out today that MUFC would listen to offers from Anthony, Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, and Christian Eriksen. Do you think that's sufficient? Is this enough if we can sell these players, or should there be more? Nordin, take it away.
No, there needs to be more players that need to go. For me personally, with all this INEOS revolution, I did a show earlier on, and I said, what are we expecting from this INEOS revolution? And for me, the biggest sign would be how quickly Manchester United move players on. I will literally this summer spend some of the transfer money on getting rid of buying out people's contracts, brown enveloping agents. I don't care, because for me, Glazonomics stands because Manchester United are a publicly listed company. So on the books, the way it looks. So if they were going to get rid of Maguire or Anthony, it would look bad in their books unless they both see out their contracts. And this is how we've been operating. So for me, the whole thing with INEOS, I'm definitely the chairman of Wait and See FC, because I don't care what you've done at Man City. I don't care what you've done here or there. I'm only interested, if you're a player coming to Manchester United, what you can do for my club. As a director, what you can do for my club, not what you've done somewhere else. I don't give a damn what you've done other places. I want to know what you can do here for me. So that'll be the first and biggest test, and I'll be over the moon like majority United fans, because that will mean the death of Glazonomics. It would literally mean Manchester United being able to shift, because we don't operate. And I used to tell people, Manchester United do not operate like a normal football club. You see the players, we either give them a contract, because it's easier to renew a contract with a player that you've already had there than to buy in a new player and to get rid of that player. And this is what we have to do. So for me, a lot more bigger players have to go. Bigger players have to go. But like I said, for me, I've got sick and tired going to the stadium and seeing Ten Hag make the same mistakes again and again and again. Midfield wide open again and again and again, and him not doing anything about it. And I'm thinking that my eyes are lying to me. Now, if they're going to give him another year, then clean house, because they have to clean house. If you're going to, even if it's not him or whatever the next manager, you have to clean house for me, because there are players who've absolutely took the piss this season, who continue to take the piss, who have zero discipline about them, what it means to wear the Manchester United shirt, what it means to represent, what it means to have this incredible fan base and the size of the football club as we are. They don't deserve that. They don't deserve to be there. They've literally done nothing at this football club.
Can I just ask on that then? Sorry, mate, because obviously there's a lot of names being thrown about all the time, but with those sort of last few criteria that you've given about work, playing for the shirt, giving your all, giving everything you can, does that include Maguire and McTominay?
To me,
I think they've been great this season in terms of what they've done when they came away from the press. The rumours, like everyone's saying, you skate. Why did you not go to West Ham? Why did you not take the money? Why did you not let us move on? Sort of thing. And to me, they've been two of our most consistent players this season. They've made mistakes, and they're not the greatest players on the planet. But based on what you said about,
so fundamentally, like, they're not good enough for Manchester United level. And if this football club was a football club, and the size of the football club it is, and it was run correctly, Scott McTominay would have been moved on a long time ago. Not that because he's not a trier, not that because he's not a great professional, not that unless you knew a specific coach that could get the best out of him. And I think you could use Scott in a certain way off the bench, and because he's quiet, he finds space in the box. But I'm sorry, I'm not just having that. And Harry Maguire, I said it to Jarvis. I said since he's come back, since he's actually had to stay, and since the last time he got injured, since he's been back, I've noticed certain level of aggressiveness when I'm in the stadium watching him. Literally, he used to back up and be scared. Now he goes in. So he's improved in terms of the level of intent and aggression that he plays with. Before, he would think, ooh, I'm going to get caught here. No, he's willing to take the man or the ball. That was always the big thing about him. And the fact that he couldn't, where he earned his money, he always used to not manage that 6-yard area. Any ball around his feet, he used to struggle with that. But now I see him with the way he's aggressive. He's reading it and clearing the ball. You know what I mean? Hitting the ball. So 100%, he has improved. But do I think fundamentally, the way modern football is, that he's good enough for Manchester United to want to squeeze the game, to go up the pitch? No, he's not good enough. But I agree with you. In terms of commitment from me, Harry Maguire is the guy who's got his head down, and he can only have what is, you know what I mean, the team the way he is. He improved his level of how aggressive to play it. And I've seen it. When you see it, and you actually hear the tackle sometimes. He crunches people. He used to physically be dominant, in the air. He used to be very physical and dominant in the air. But now he's actually getting to the ball first and not waiting around. So 100% all credit to him. And I try to be objective. Same thing with McTominay. I'm so happy, by the way, tonight he said that he's not injured. Because I thought that, I was saying to you, Jarvis, I was like, that would hurt me, because he took Scotland to the Euros. His goals have took them. So the idea of him missing the Euros would be an absolute travesty. So I'm so glad it's come out on Instagram tonight, and he's basically said he's overstretched. The same thing that he did the first time he got injured. He did the same thing again. But that means he's not stable enough. They've not given him enough rehab to stabilize his knee. He's overstretched again. And there's a weakness now that's there. So he needs to, for me, think about Scotland, because this Manchester United team ain't going anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately. But yeah, Rashford has to go for me. Bruno has to go because he's indisciplined. And I'm not having a player to play every minute, even when he's injured, when he's hobbling around, where he can never be subbed. I'm not having that. There is certain things I'm not having at this football club, where you've got players like Bruno, who runs like a headless chicken, runs about the football pitch, plays when he wants, wherever he wants. I'm not having that. So for me, they're the two that you could get decent money for. Rashford has to go. I think for his own career, he needs to change. So those big players have to go. And depending on whether you're sticking or twisting with this, for me, I would try to get rid of the people that are one-dimensional, only to play the certain way, counter-attack, and get players in who actually can play modern way of football, can actually hold the ball, can hold possession, don't treat the ball like a hot potato. And Eric Ten Hag, for me, he's lost me, even though Jarvis will tell you, I wanted him like no other manager I've ever wanted at Manchester United. He's let me down. And I'm not just jumping on the bandwagon. Jarvis will tell you, I was calling out this 3-6-1, emptying out the midfield single pivot from January last season. And I was like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah, so, but no, we spoke a little bit about the 3-1-6, and we actually looked better against Burnley because we played with more control. It was when we were starting to hitting it long, there was a big gap, and the game was.
But Jarvis is half an hour. It's half an hour. We can't do it for half an hour.
It's more than we have seen for the whole season.
Yeah, we can't. Football now is 100 minutes. I can't go to Old Trafford and think my eyes are lying to me. And just because we don't have Shaw and Martinez, then something's going to change. No, it's not going to change. Because you're still going to play that single pivot, and you're going to vacate the midfield, and everybody's going to run. Everybody's up the pitch. And to recover, no, you need to close the gaps. And there isn't enough. Obviously, the only thing that I will give him the benefit of the doubt is that if players are not doing what he's asked for, he hasn't got the bench to be able to take them off and to put other players on. That's the only thing that I'm like, would he be able to do that? But I can't watch what I'm watching. It's just, honestly, when you're in the stadium, you're just like, what the hell am I watching? And you know what? I've not played at any great level. I'll play Sunday or Saturday league. But I know when my manager used to go, midfield, get back. I knew. Get in position. Positioning was important. Positioning was important. Don't chase the ball up there. Stay in position. The idea of positioning is so important in a football match. You have to hold your position. You can't go and make up as you go along. And that's the biggest reason. But if it's going to stay, then they need to get rid of certain players who cannot fit the way he wants to play in this. And they have to get in athletes who can actually have the physicality, that can play one-on-one, can actually win their duels. We can do it. They can do it for half an hour. We showed it against Liverpool. Liverpool bullied Man City, right? Literally ran, and Pep Guardiola had to take off De Bruyne, and then they came to Old Trafford for the first, 35 minutes. They couldn't get out. We did what they usually do to teams. We were doing what they were doing to City, but you can't do it for half an hour. You can't.
Phil, I have a question. The problem with Bruno is that he's been made undroppable by Ten Hag. That sent the wrong message to the dressing room. Do you agree, or do you think Bruno deserves to play all the time based on his performance?
I think a little bit on what Nudin said about what's the options. What options have you got that are out there when you think, as I say, I spoke before Nudin came on about the fact that Cass is currently playing centre back, Scott McTominay is injured, Mount's injured. Amrabat we know what Amrabat the last few times, every time he's come on, he's given a penalty or a free kick away and lost us the game. I just think he's been an awful signing. Just because he made that one good run against Mbappe, that was it. Everyone was waxing lyrical about him. But apart from that, I just think that Bruno, you see, he gives the ball away, but he's created the most chances. He's still got the most goals and assists since he's joined the Premier League. And that includes the likes of your De Bruyne's and everybody else who waxes lyrical about. He brings something to United. He brings he never stops. You can see him. He's got a little bit of, and I'll explain it in a minute, a bit of Wayne Rooney in him, where he can be, 1 minute, he can be right up front trying to score a goal. And in the next clip, he's on our goal line, clearing it off the line, or trying to win a header, or trying to win back. He never stops, and that is, if we had 11 Fernandezes on the pitch with the effort, we would be a much better team. Where when you look at how many shots, I know they're not all going. I know all his shots, all his passes don't come off, and that is the sort of thing that you go, you know what? If we had maybe more composure, that is the one thing. I think he needs a bit more composure. If Bruno had a bit more composure and just took a little bit off.
But can I just interrupt us rudely?
Yeah.
I see it for Portugal. Portugal, he's told what to do. For Portugal, he doesn't do this headless running chicken. Like, he doesn't do where you know what it is sometimes, yeah?
So right? Why get rid of Bruno if he's got the ability to do it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say to you. Because he's been allowed to. When he first came to Manchester United, all he said to him, do what you want. He did. And he was fantastic for a reason. And we were all saying, sooner or later, he's going to drop to the level of these other people who are not putting in the same effort as him. And to me, Eric Ten Hag, that's why I'm so shocked with Eric Ten Hag. He's allowing him to get away with it. What he's been allowing Rashford to get away with.
He's enabling in a way.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just dumbfounded. But when I watch him for Portugal, obviously, to be fair, you can't compare club football to international football. Like a big difference now in terms of the pace. But he does not run out. He doesn't leave positioning. He stays in positions. He holds. But at Manchester United, he can't be subbed, even when he's limping. You know what I mean? He can never be rested. And I'm just like, I can't have that. I know that the whole club brand is Bruno and Rashford being the face of Manchester United. And I'm just like, come on.
Yeah. That's the thing. Going back to the game when Bruno was with Ahmad was subbed in, and Bruno operated as the false nine, all over the place. He dropped a lot of the times down on the pitch, and he lost the ball in dangerous positions. I would say maybe 2 or 3 times, and Burnley created good chances. They could have scored, and this is what you get with Bruno. He always take chances if he is down deep or high up the pitch. So he doesn't seem to have the ability to switch off the I would say the energy to create all the time. He wants to get that goal, and this is one of the biggest problems. So for Bruno, if we should keep Bruno, we should be more disciplined and keeping him in the number 10 role and let him operate high up the pitch, because we are not that vulnerable when he loses the ball. But the problem now is we're allowing him to take too much responsibility up and down the pitch.
Let me dive in on this. Yeah,
you
let me
agree?
dive in on this. Well, I think he needs to play in a 35-yard role, but in their half, not our half. He needs to stay way away from our half. Pretty much what you're saying, but it's a 10 and an 8. It's a hybrid 10/8.
Mhm.
That's where he's most dangerous.
And
And Phil talked, yeah, 8.5. Yeah, that's where he's most dangerous. And Phil spoke right at the very beginning about his ability to pick the ball up on the turn, but he doesn't take it with his back to goal. If we could bring that into his game, he would be a far more, I'm going to say rounded player. It sounds fucking stupid, I know, but I think you know what I'm getting at with the way that he plays. However, let me offer you a balanced view here on squad building, because both Phil and Nuruddin, strangely, you're both right. I fully understand why Phil would want to keep Bruno, and I get why Nuruddin would sell Bruno. So there's two sides to this particular coin. There are sometimes when you've had squad neglect, like Manchester United have faced over the last 10, 11 years, okay, and I've been a season ticket holder now for 30 years. It's my 30th year when I renew my ticket, right? My lad goes now, but I've seen squads being built. I understand how squads built. I play football, as you all know, etc., and I see it and I get it. When you've had squad neglect, there comes a time in the sand where a brick wall comes up and you can't get over it. And we've had that for the last 10 years. So when you look at your squad, there's 3 things that you look for rebuilding. First and foremost, who do we need to get rid of deadwood? Who can we get rid of cheap? Secondly, where can we raise the money? And unfortunately, when you look to raise money, they tend to be your golden gooses, unfortunately, in and around the team. That's the biggest issue that a manager and a sporting director, technical director will have. And then thirdly, if you remove 1 or 2 of your golden tickets, who do you bring in? But you're not just bringing in a capable player of Bruno's ability. You're looking to bring in somebody slightly better, but with a better personality that fits into the initial squad that you've got, that you want to build them around. I'm talking Maino, Hoyland, Shea Lacey, Amas, Amad Diallo, whoever. So you're looking at that group of players that you want to keep. You're looking at that golden ticket, and you're looking at the quality and the personalities on who you bring to fit all of these. It's the most complicated jigsaw you'll ever see. And Phil, you actually mentioned that in what you said, summing up about Ten Hag's press conference question about how you are viewing your particular squad of 15 kids, and you understand each about their abilities, but you also get their personality. So you know what you can do, how you can be around a player, how you can help grow him, or how you could move him out the side without upsetting him. This is what we've got to do. So you're both absolutely right. You're both 100% right. And that's the problem with Manchester United face. And I think the Erik Ten Hag moving forward question is intriguing just on that fact alone, about what you can and cannot do. So we don't know too much about Berrada, do we, really? We know about him, but we don't know enough about him. We know about Dan Ashworth, but we don't know enough about him. We know about Wilcox, but we don't know enough about him. And it's these ideas and this structure that they will put into place with Ten Hag as an example that will turn around and say, Harry Maguire, you're West Ham's captain next season. And again, Phil, you think this is where you're spot on, mate. So is Nuruddin. You're spot on because of his absolute balls that this guy has got. When 12 months ago, Phil, he was scared to take the ball. Definitely at Old Trafford, he wouldn't take it, would he? He wouldn't do a 2-3 yard pass. Look at him now. aggression, manoeuvrability. Scores twice in the last 3 games. He should have scored really Saturday, shouldn't he? And so that's Harry Maguire. You're right, exactly with Scott McTominay. You're 100% right with Scott McTominay. But there's money to be had with McTominay from a FFP or whatever they call it now, PSR. Harry Maguire, I think, would flourish at somewhere like West Ham. I think you'd really see Harry Maguire flourish at West Ham. And I'm kind of with the pair of you when it comes to Rashford. As much as we all want him to succeed, there's probably 70 or 80 million pounds there. The same with Bruno. There's probably 80 to 100 million pounds. And therein lies the absolute dilemma that we all have as fans wanting these players maybe to stay, or the necessary resource that allowed Ten Hag or whoever to mould that squad. But again, I keep coming back to it. I'm sounding like a broken record here, Phil. I apologise, man. But you're right yet again. We're not going to see anything for 2 to 3 years. And that's the key element. That's the key element of what you do. So I just thought I'll try and put
Don't apologise for saying I'm right. I'll hear that all day. That's good.
I think you are a bit
No, but do you know
one of those, isn't it?
One of the things, so I mean, I've seen this comment today saying, basically most of the squad's up for sale, sort of thing. I don't believe that statement at all, because at the end of the day, you cannot just empty the team. It's a stupid comment. It's come from a journalist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To actually have the stupidity to put it out there makes you question, are you a journalist? But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoever it is read it and it's out there. It's a stupid comment because, first of all, you devalue every sale that's going to happen straight away. It's like literally how to put them at rock bottom price to tell them we don't want anybody anymore. And what we need to remember is, and this is why I'm kind of like on the defensive of some of the players who we've questioned in the last 15 minutes. What makes us think we still have the right? We are not Man United from 15 years ago or 10 years ago.
Correct.
We cannot go into the market as Man United. Everybody wants to join us, Man United, and just think, well, get rid of all them and we'll get a load of new ones in. It isn't going to work like that anymore. It's not going to work like that. You're going to get a few per season, and therefore you need to keep some of your better players. They might not be worldies. They might not get into other teams, or they might get into other teams and do better, like your Maguire or whatever. But we know that Varane, let's be honest, Varane's going to end at season. He's too injury prone. The first thing you've got to get rid of, not those who aren't willing to play or who are on the pitch at the moment, the ones who can't play because they're constantly injured. Martial gone, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Varane, we know it's Rolls Royce Varane, but unfortunately, Rolls Royce.
Luke Shaw.
Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, Varane's gone, Martial's gone. I think Shaw will probably get another season because, but I'm not saying he should, but it depends on what that injury is. Have we rushed him back again? I don't know. We've got Malacia in, so if we get rid of Shaw, you've got to get another real solid left back in because Malacia is not ready for first team football week in, week out. You know, and this is what I'm talking about. We can only get rid of so many players. All this about the FFP. We might get rid of some of the wage bill and stuff, but you've got players who are out there on worldly wages who we're saying we'll bring them in. It's like it's got to be the right structure. You've got to build it piece by piece. You can't just pull the Lego out and bring a few more, bring a whole new setting and build a new model. It can't work like that.
But what you could do, and again, what you could do is, for me, if you move Maguire out, you bring in Max Kilman. You get Kilman for about 40, 50 million quid. Okay, brilliant centre half, absolutely brilliant. You'd move, say Shaw goes, or you look at it, then you bring in Robinson from Fulham. Wickedly brilliant fullback, left back.
American guy.
Really good solid. Now, you've got two things with these particular players. A, they won't require huge salaries, number one. Number two, they won't require huge transfer fees. And three, more importantly, they're Premier League savvy. Now, that will allow you, because I know what's going to happen. I think we're all pretty much guaranteed we're buying Elise from Palace, aren't we? And that's going to hurt. If you went for Jared Branthwaite at Everton, as much as we may or may not like him as footballers, it's going to hurt. So you've got to be comfortable. The only real big expenditure I would put out this season is Polina from Fulham. for a Casemiro replacement. I'll bring in Pellegrini. He would absolutely be perfect for Mino. And those are the 3 signings I would look to do this summer. Now, Phil, broken record. He's right again, but you've got to look at there will be that dead wood. Now, there's one conundrum, 2 conundrums. Okay, Manchester United will have, and we know who those 2 conundrums are. Our mate over in Getafe and Sancho. Those will be 2 conundrums which the club will have. What do they do with them? And I think there's if I'm right in saying there's a Champions League clause potentially in the loan for Sancho. Is that right? Am I wrong on that one? So we might end up with him back. One conundrum, and then obviously our number.
Yeah, I think the Champions League clause was about getting 3 million extra in the loan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 3 million originally and 3 million extra when they qualified for this.
And Marcus made my point here. Bring him back and do you save? Oh, sorry, Mark, I've lost it. Bring him back and do you save £70 million? One of those are 2 conundrums. But as a squad rebuild goes, that's where you need to start, in my humble opinion. You start with Premier League, savvy, ready players. Because if we went for Branthwaite, you're looking at 80 mil, aren't they? Isn't it what Everton are quoted or something stupid like that? It's too much money.
Yeah.
But you get killed.
I think with the new structure in place, we're not going to get turned over anymore.
Exactly.
Obviously, we don't know too much about them as individuals. But one thing that we do know is that we've took the cream of the crop from some of the clubs out there who are doing great things right now. And City didn't want to lose Berrada. Newcastle are fighting for all the worth to keep Ashworth. And obviously Wilcox has basically said, I'm leaving on a free, don't worry about my money, I'm off, thanks for your time, sort of thing. But and they believe in something, they believe in a project, and that is the draw for the new players who will come into the team.
Yes,
we do need Europa. I've seen people say, I think somebody said before, it might have been yourself, Nuruddin, or Tom. Somebody said it before. No, Tom said it. Sorry, Nuruddin. About not bothered about Europe in any way whatsoever. I disagree. Yeah. I think when you think Mata signed for us, and we had Europa to offer him, just some kind of European league to keep out there. It's not the Champions League. We know that. We don't want the Conference League. But if we have to take it, it's embarrassing. I do not want
the club deserves it. The club deserves it. So some of these players deserve to play in that. On their, they need to have it on their record.
Can somebody answer me this, right? Because we're in the cup final against City, even if we lose, because they've already qualified, do we not get the automatic playing position in Europe?
Oh no.
I think if they win the league, if City win the league,
and
then we will qualify, coming in second.
We qualify for that. Yeah,
but the FA Cup puts you in the Europa, doesn't it? The winners of the FA Cup.
Yeah, the winners of the FA Cup puts us in the Europa straight away.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you don't, and you runners up, does that not put you in the Europa? If the other team are already in the Champions League because they've already got the European position.
I think City have to win it.
City have to, I think
win the league.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want
to rely on that.
I'll take the conference. In terms of like the players that we need, I think we can box clever. I genuinely think we can box clever in this transfer window. I mean, some people might think, I think we need 2 midfield players. Pauline is a great shout. Me and Jarvis were talking about in last season. Yeah. We're like, he's the guy. I was like, how come please don't let him go to Bayern Munich? Because he's literally proven it in the Premier League. You see his stats against the top teams. He's the guy. Yeah, he's 29, but he's not a Casemiro. You know what I mean? He's not like... But to me, I would worry about any midfielder under this Eric Ten Hag system where you get left alone. I just want to put out there where you are left with the massive gaps. You know what I mean, on the football pitch. To me, modern football is about spaces. It's about how much you condense the spaces and how much as a team you move together and you back together. You know what I mean? But definitely Paulinho. But you know, another one I'll shout, most likely they're going to get relegated. I'll take Ross Barkley. He's done absolute wonders. One more big opportunity in the top flight. One more big opportunity at a big club. Now he's mature now, 30 years old. I would take him. I've seen him this season. I watched Luton, and I've watched the way they play, and I watch him look comfortable on that ball. Really comfortable on that ball.
Get him on a
playing
free as
maturer, more focused. He's more focused than any other time I've seen him on his football. All of that distraction business. So one more shot at him, and we could get him. He only signed for them for free. We can get him on a free.
We get him on a free.
Get him on a free. He only signed him for the season. So Manchester United could box clever in this transfer window. But I 100% do think we need to fix the centre-half situations. I mean, that Thompson kid, he's 26 years old. He was at Man City. He's leaving Fulham. I don't know about his injury record. The biggest thing, first of all, can I just say this? I genuinely want to clear out the medical staff. I'm not going to lie to you. I know you think we're stream. I want the medical staff need to be cleared out. The injury and rehab need to be cleared out. Before even we sign or sell or any place, they all need to go because you need to get better. You can get better quality out there where, look, I'll give you the examples. Martinez, metatarsal, similar injury again.
Oh, he's struggling.
Similar injury. Every player that's coming back, sure. If everybody's struggling, I'm sorry. I cannot have this. But go ahead, Phil. You say.
Yeah.
Stuart, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I've got to go, guys. I've got to go pick my nipper up. So, well, I say nipper, he's 23. Ridiculous, isn't it? I sincerely apologise. There is a question off Trevor, by the way, before I go, Trevor Wade. And he, as Phil, you're doing Q&A, I'll let you read it out, pal.
Question for Stu. If he wasn't a Tipton Town legend, what would he want to be in alternate life? For me, it would have been a great barista with his frappuccinos.
Great question.
What would I? Yes, that is a great. What would I like to be? Actually, where I work in, I'd love to be a motorcycle racer. I haven't got the balls to do what they do. Ride 2 inches front to rear at 200 miles an hour. I'm on that grid, talking to them. I'm on the sides and I'm watching them, and I'm as close as you can get. And they are phenomenal. I would love to be one of those. But my backup job would be definitely a barista guy. I do have a barista, quite a nice little barista coffee thing. So, Trevor, I'm in our herbal tea tonight. Next time, pal, I'll do a barista for you. Nuruddin, great to be on the show with you, mate. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah,
been a long time. Phil, quality as ever.
Thank you. Good night. Look after yourself.
Take care. Stu.
Look at him, looking like a model up there. That's my top. But thank you ever so much, guys. I'll tune into your. When are you back on live, Nura? Because I'll tune in and watch you. And
I'm back hopefully Thursday maybe for the match preview against Crystal Palace. I'm not looking forward to that. Oh God.
No, we're Monday night on that one, aren't we? Yeah, but I'll tune in and watch you guys. Anyway, all the very best, lads. Take care.
Nice one.
Take care, Stu. Thanks for coming on. Next topic of the evening is about the Rashford, and we saw today rumors coming out that he's not for sale, and Man United want to give him a second chance and try to rebuild, but we are willing to sell him if a sustainable bid arrives. So, Nuruddin, would you sell Rashford if we got the right amount of money?
I think for him,
what would be the right amount?
80 to 90 mil. 80 million for me. I think, and there's only one club that's willing to pay that money and give him the wages that he wants. I think it's Paris Saint-Germain.
PSG.
Yeah, because I don't think Leao is going to go there. I think Leao might. I'm hearing rumors with Leao being linked to Barcelona. Apparently, Barcelona are willing to pull another lever. How many have they pulled out? So many levers FC. So yeah, Rashford. I think it's really interesting because I see Docker doing a lot because obviously the fans are pissed off. We're all absolutely angry. So what headlines do we want to hear after drawing with Burnley, on the Monday? Oh, INEOS are going to come in. Nobody's safe. Everybody's for sale. And like you said, that's the worst negotiating position you could have as a football club. Everybody's for sale. No, you do it quietly. You do behind the scenes. You make deals. You let people know players are available, but at a certain price. So I do think there's an appetite from the representatives who represent Rashford. I do think the club are putting it out there and saying, yeah, they are listening to offers that they can't refuse. And I think that's what it should be. I genuinely think that's what it should be, because nobody should be safe. If Manchester United want to go back to where we were, I understand 100% Manchester United are not that club anymore. But if we're going to climb up that mountain again, we need to be doing it properly. And to me, the biggest thing what you do that is to play good football. When you play good football, big players, big teams from anywhere, people want to join, because you know what? Most players will know their Instagram straight away will go up, their Twitter following, their social media, their in terms of any brands that they need to ever promote when they retire, they will always be because of our fan base and the size of our club. But to me, you have to hook them in. You can't do it with money anymore like we used to. Always used to get the cream of the crop. Now we have to go, what's the next best thing? And modern football is, Scholesy, be quiet. I'm live on the stream. Scholesy, meowing about the place. And the thing for me is that Rashford, I think, deserves to go and prove to people that outside of the most rotten environment that Manchester United has been in the last couple of years, he needs to prove it somewhere else to show that what a good player he is, and go to a stable-ish club, a stable club. And Paris Saint-Germain look like their stable club. And, he's doing a good job. Whatever you say about him, Enrique, he's doing a really good job at Paris Saint-Germain. Try to get them to work on a team effort thing. And Mbappe, he subs him off. He takes him off when he wants. He's there to do a job. And he'll get coached in that sense, for me, Rashford. And try a different culture. Why not? Life is only short. Test yourself. Get out of the bubble. Get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Phil, would you sell Rashford? And what would be a decent amount for money?
I mean, obviously, the numbers being put around a sort of 80 million. And you think, when you look at his current form, you wouldn't pay 80 million for him. I think that's part of the problem. And I think that's another reason why you might go, well, actually, we know what he can do. I can't. He's not the sort of player who's going to go on loan. I just cannot see it. It's not like a loan with an option to, maybe a loan with an option to buy it. I can't see it. But I think I'd love it to work out for Rashford. There's no doubt about it. I think his head is all over the place. I think for him, he needs to move to another league in another country to move away from his lifestyle and have to start afresh with new people around him in a new team who hopefully would potentially, for him, say, look, you can't mess around like this. This is whoever it is, PSG, this is Barca or whatever it is, sort of thing. The sort of thing you might, I mean, obviously Barca's looking to get Mbappe, so it looks like PSG's got that sort of gap on the left.
Yeah,
which we know that Rashford can play. And the thing is, we're seeing Garnacho, Ahmad, and I can't see us selling Anthony. I just can't see it after a season. I think it's too much of a loss. I could be wrong, but I can't see us getting rid of him. The fact that Ten Hag's still trying to play him in every spare moment he's got over Ahmad, I just can't see us getting rid of him. And what we saw against Burnley, whoever it was against, it was against Burnley. We saw what he potentially can do in terms of effort and what he can bring on the pitch. He needs to be consistent in his approach. But Rashford, this injury, is he going to, what's going to come back? How's he going to come back after a good end to the season? Is he going to get the winner in the cup final? Those sort of moments where they're over his style. Is that going to kickstart his career again? Because he has, let's be honest very quickly, because I know we can go on about this. If somebody was watching you do your job every single day, one person, and they saw you make mistakes in your job, you get a little bit twitchy and you probably make more mistakes. I don't know about anybody else, but have you ever just been trying to just type an email and somebody stood behind you and you're like, oh, you make a couple of mistakes and typos and it's because you stood behind me? He's got 75,000 people watching every single step, every movement, everything on the pitch during the time he's on. And then he's got all the pundits criticising him. And then he's got all Sky Sports and TalkSport and everybody else. And he's got millions of media watching and criticising him. That's hard to take for any human being. And for that reason, I think the best move for him would be for him to leave so he could start afresh and try and just be a bit quiet, keep under the radar and keep off social media for a little bit. But I would love for him to be able to stay and recreate the form he was and be the legend that he was once leading towards at Man United. He's 4 goals short of the top 10 goal scorers at United, something like that. We know what he can do, but he's got to till the end of the season to prove himself, to show this is what I can do, this is my best, and stop making mistakes off the pitch. That's his big problem.
Yeah. But talking about pressure, the books comes in and say Paris Ultras rocked up at Neymar's house and booed Messi. Imagine what they will do to Rashford after he starts moaning. So, the pressure in Paris is also huge. And the Ultras, they're not having it. They expect to win every season, and they want to win the Champions League. So that's a club with almost higher demands than Man United at the moment.
But Jarvis, the problem is that with Rashford, I agree with you, Phil. Like, I say the same. Footballers are only human, but the difference that they've been trained to be professional at these levels, right? That's the difference what we have with them. And the thing about it is that when you have all that pressure on you, when you have that, why are you shadow pressing? Why are you walking around pretending that you are going for the buck? For me, then you go back to basics. You go back to basics. And basics is make that working class person who's come to support you, come to watch you, make them see that you're just putting in the honest graft. Always, any fans will always clap honest graft. That's the minimum. But when you're not doing the minimum, I'm not expecting you to score spectacular goals. Just do the minimum. Don't walk around the football pitch. Don't jump out of 50-50s. Don't jump out of 50-50s. Don't shirk a challenge. Chase for, because Rashford does do it when he wants to do it. But for me, it's like either the club come out or he comes out and tells us what's wrong. Or we move on to somewhere else, go to a different environment. Like I said, I love Rashford because Rashford, for me, as a young player, his rise has been incredible. And I will always say, against all our big rivals, Rashford has scored winners against them all. Against all our rivals, Rashford has got winners against them all. All of them, every one of them. These big traditional rivals that we've got, Rashford has always had a winner against them. So that he's actually got the temperament in the big game player to actually score goals against all of them. Unfortunately, Manchester United have not been a stable football club. We've been an absolute madhouse of marketing and commercialism, and forgot what it is that's made us into this. And it's the Glazers. And for me, so I will never know genuinely. Like, the only manager I ever regret was Van Gaal, because to think that what Martial could have been, what Rashford could have been, and then we bought Jose, who doesn't believe in youth. He doesn't believe in young players. He wants to win now. It's all about now. So that to me is about, like, Rashford, to go to PSG, you're on the good coach there, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone, and maybe it might challenge him to do that bit, because it's not his boyhood club anymore. You know what I mean? He's at another club where he's paid big money and people have expectations of him. But for me, what I see him, I asked Jarvis, I told him the phrase shadow pressing. He's the best shadow presser ever to be seen in this season. If you look at this season, he's a shadow presser. He pretends he's going to press.
Yeah, but to be fair, Norden, shadow pressing is an actual thing in football. It's about blocking the guy behind you, blocking the passing lane.
But he doesn't do that. He just walks by the side of them, does that a little bit tense, and then the player will go that way, and then he'll just walk. No. Listen, we know that the components of pressing, Jarvis, I understand. It's not to always win the ball. It's that you want to take people direction. You want to set them a trap and win the ball somewhere else. You don't always have to win the ball when you're pressing every minute. I'm not asking that. But you are directing a team to go. You're cutting up options for them and try to get an error out of them with your positioning, right? That's what you're forcing an unforced error from a team to get the ball off them, and you do it in packs. But he sometimes with his man, he doesn't even track. He just stands there, and I'm like, no. Like, I saw the most highest decorated footballer in the history of my football club Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
Up and down. And by the way, people, I was on the stands as a kid. Giggs used to get it if he didn't do it. Old Trafford. Giggs is the most decorated footballer, and he was getting booed. Sometimes when he was coming on the pitch, booed off the pitch. Yeah. And till he realized, oh shit, they need me. He's scoring amazing goals, beating 3-4 guys. No, they need me to go the other way. And one thing you say about David Beckham, that's why I will always. David Beckham was never the greatest talented most footballer. He had a wonder of a right foot. He can put a ball in anywhere you wanted. But one thing you can never accuse David Beckham is not putting in it. He would put it in for the team. When he realized that the team are getting dominated in midfield more, he'll come in central and fight. So if the most decorated footballer in this club's history had to learn to get back and to run and chase and hustle and tackle, nah, I'm sorry. There are certain standards. We might not be that club, but there are certain standards.
Yeah, but Rashford is 26 now.
Yeah.
He should have learned this already. He's not a youngster.
No, but he's been allowed to get away with it. He's been allowed to get away with it. He's been, Ollie, I understood with Ollie. Ollie was a tactic. Ollie, we played mid to low block, and he thought if we win the ball, then let them cheat. So they almost did that cheating, that Rashford would always stay out wide and we'll cheat. We win the ball back, bang, and we hit him. This team, oh no, I needed to get back in position. I needed to win your one-on-one duels. I don't want you jumping out of headers. 50-50s.
This is the thing, Nordin, when it comes to Rashford, people have been, you can see it. His body language. He's not giving 100%. And do you think it's a mental thing? He reached some kind of block in his game. He's afraid to get injured again because he have had a lot of injuries. And you have to be able to take a lot of hits playing in the Premier League. And he's been taking a lot of hits during his years. But now
he played. Yeah, I have to remind certain people that he actually played through broken bones when he had broken bones chipped in his body and his back, and he couldn't even put a boot on. So he played through a lot. Ray, what you want about Martial? Martial played through all this as well under Ollie, because Ollie was all about that 90s robustness. That robustness, tried to instill that thing into them. But so 100%, I think there's something, mentally, something's going on. And I think last season he was trying to allude to it in a couple of interviews, but I think people were shutting it down. And I think there's something. Marcus Rashford, you live in Manchester. Manchester, small. Where do you live, Phil? Where do you live?
Just west of Manchester.
So you know Manchester is small. So in terms of going out, exactly. In terms of going out and stuff like that, Rashford is not a pisshead. He's not a big pisshead. He's not a guy who's falling out of nightclubs. He's not. Let's be honest. We know about Jack Grealish. We know about Mahrez. The reason why Mahrez was got rid of because him and Jack Grealish were on the lash every other weekend and doing all sorts of things in clubs in Manchester. I used to be a doorman, so I know certain people who still do security and stuff like that. So Rashford is not that. To be fair, he's not that type of guy. And for him to want to go on a bender in Belfast, of all places, obviously one of his friends is playing there. He wanted to be around his friend, and for him not to turn up in training, Rashford's never done that before. You never accused Rashford because of that or that reason. So something's going on. There are something afoot. There's something happening behind the scenes, and obviously it's being proper controlled, and we're not letting us know because he looks like his body language is telling us that it's the last place he wants to be is on that football pitch.
I see Riot V comes in and say his problem is not Ten Hag. It could be something else. His relationship to the fans, in a way.
But how can he go from last season, the way it was, to this season? And last season, to be fair to him, at times he didn't play well. He wasn't playing well. He wasn't doing a tracking back. But one thing he was doing was scoring. And as you know, Phil, that actually at times goals can paper over or cracks a lot of a player's performance.
Yeah.
How much do you think he was impacted? Because I know there was he lost. It was his cousin.
His cousin, yeah.
Cousin.
Oh, grief! Grief is a big thing, isn't it? Grief is a big
he lost his cousin, and I don't want to go into detail on this line. I'm going to ask about. He lost Mason Greenwood, who was one of his best mates through the academy. He lost Lingard, who was his almost his brother in arms sort of thing. And then there was who else am I thinking of?
Sancho.
Sancho. And so I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those players who've gone or whatever reason they've moved, but his whole everything that was around him that made him comfortable and enjoy his time there. Do you think? I think a lot has probably been impacted. It's all happened at the same time when you put it all together. I think there's a lot,
and apparently they lost a family friend as well. So he didn't just lose his cousin; he lost to somebody.
That's what I'm saying.
Well.
And just
like a very important figure in his life.
Football.
Yeah. Now he's lost and grief, and we've all experienced grief. I mean, maybe some people haven't, and you're lucky enough never to have experienced it. But we understand and know that grief can affect people in different ways. You know what I mean?
I see story comes in and say Manchester is not about getting friends, and that's a good point. But in a way, we are all humans, and it affects how we perform all the time.
I disagree with that.
Listen, no. You can say the same actually about Greenwood as well. Like, remember that kid? Greenwood was really good friends with a kid who was at Man City, let go by Man City, who then committed suicide, unfortunately. And Greenwood's head was not right for a time. Remember when he used to celebrate, he was pointing to him, paying tributes to him. Yeah. So grief, when you're young, especially young people, is really difficult to cope with. Regardless, you've got everything, you've got the whole world at your feet. But somebody in the comments said that Rashford was playing for a contract. That happens. That really happens. And it's not like intentional thing, but it's just the unconscious thing that people do because the agents are having a chat with them saying, you got to put it in. Luke Shaw is the classic example. Anytime he has to play for a contract, Shawberto comes out. As soon as he gets that contract.
It's true. Phil, you want to go?
I just wanted to ask Phil something. Yeah. Phil, what do you think about this Mason Mount thing? Do you think that Ten Hag bought him, or do you think there was a club signing?
Not sure. I think the thing is with Mason Mount. I think without his injury, you saw a player who we spoke in the last half hour about getting players in who are Premier League proven, and Mason Mount was the darling of Chelsea because the fans were booing him when he left, not because they couldn't wait to get rid of him, but because he was their trophy sort of thing. He was from the club. He was from the academy. He'd worked his way through.
13, I think he was since he was 13 or something.
He was special to them, and he still had something to bring in their mind. They didn't want to see him go to one of their rivals, and I believe that there is still a player in there. He's not had much opportunity this season because of his injuries. I know that, which is no surprise when you're at United this season. But when he's been on the pitch, I've liked what he's done. Even when he came on against Burnley the other day, he was only on for about 7 minutes. He broke a ball up from the back. He cleared a ball off the line. He played a ball forward for an opportunity forward pass. I think what happened when Ten Hag clearly wanted Frankie de Jong, it didn't happen, and then I think it was possibly the plan B sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm not saying he didn't have a say in it, but he wasn't his first choice. But I just can't see it being a Glazer signing because he wasn't like a shirt seller sort of thing. So that is why I do think that Ten Hag's had more of a say in it than a Glazer signing.
The only thing that I would say, because I always think that the biggest clue in the answer, the reason why I would ask a question like this is because we know about Donny van der Beek. We know that Ollie didn't sign him. We understand that Ollie didn't sign him. Ollie didn't want him. Right. And we signed him. And then what happened to his career? He's still not recovered, that kid. And the kid has done absolutely nothing. But he's not recovered from then. For me, Mason Mount, I find it very suspicious that it's the same company that looks after him, that looked after Beckham. And that he straight away from doing nothing, he got the number 7 shirt. I found that really difficult. To me, he's perfect in this type of especially in a minute, other than Bruno, Mason Mount for me would be better than Bruno in that position because he actually knows how to hold position. He actually listens. I mean, one of the things why Southgate loved him for England, because he knew whether to play him out wide or to play him a bit closer as a number 10 or to drop him as an 8. He would stay with that. You know what I mean? And apparently, rumors are he's very good at taking on coaches' instructions. Yeah. He's very quick to get in. At some players, it takes them a long time, but he's very quick. And that's why every manager that's ever coached him loved him, because he quickly what's been asked of him. And for me, that's why the medical department have to go, because they've robbed him. They've literally robbed us. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm. I think the number 7 shirt, I mean, someone just mentioned in the thing as well, I think was at the time, don't forget, it was Mason Greenwood's. And it was all, is he going, is he staying, is he going, is he staying? So it was almost like, well, I know he's gone, but don't worry, we've got a new number 7 sort of thing. Yeah. I think it's a mistake we've seen over the years. You go back to Antonio Valencia, given that number 7 shirt, it's cursed. It's got to be earned. With Sanchez, Valencia, fair play to him, said, it's too big for me this shirt. I don't want it. I was better without it. And to be able to do that, Cavani, was it Cavani who lost it to
Ronaldo,
to Ronaldo, and obviously we know the Ronaldo situation, but he's cursed. I think that shirt has got to be earned. It cannot just be given. It's got there is something special about it, and I think it's an extra weight on top of your price tag and everything else that comes with it. So I just think that Mason Mount has still got a good future at United. Just with like so many players this season who are injured. Let's see what happens next season when the injuries are gone. That's what I hope for anyway.
Yeah. Good. So now we go to the end of the show. We are on 1 hour, 56 minutes. So we got to do a quick Q&A session. Phil, take it from here. There's a lot of questions coming in the start.
Let me find those. Okay, so first question. We probably covered it a little bit, but I'll put it on anyway. So the first question, did we look better without Rashford? Obviously relating to Burnley, I suppose. And he didn't play for Coventry, did he ever? I don't think.
No, it's a Burnley game.
So, yeah.
I can take this one. And I would say definitely yes, because when we have Garnacho on the left-hand side, he tracks back and he works really hard. We have the grafter on the left side, and we saw Anthony. He played good. He was actually one of his best games. Now you see he actually take on his defender. He tries to outrun him, and I haven't seen that from Anthony. So it looks like he has a little bit more confidence in his game again. And now with 2 wingers like that who tracks back, works hard, runs up and down, I think we look more solid as a team and more structured. And when we have Rashford, we have that guy like not bothered walking around, not tracking back, and I think it affects the team as a total.
Just to add to that, I think Garnacho is had his best game for a long time at the weekend, including his tracking back, because he hasn't been tracking back a lot in recent games. But in the last game, you cannot deny that he did. But I think overall, as a general player, that is a weakness in his game. Anthony is great at tracking back, but yeah,
going forward, in terms of the output, no, definitely. I think I agree. I think one of the biggest things going to games, witnessing, is that Garnacho learning. That's why he was coming on a lot last season, because he didn't understand positionally where he needed to be when we haven't got the ball. And it's still, because he's a young player, it takes time, because he's so attacking minded. He so wants to get on the front foot. So he has to understand the other side of the game. And it takes time. It takes time, sometimes a little bit of maturity. And not all players get it straight away. But the idea that we look better without Rashford, I have to see a larger sample date.
I agreed. Sure. Yeah. Moving on to the next question. This is from the boss, Mick. Don't you think he's exposing players he wants to clear in the summer and protecting players he wants to keep? Ahmad, Garnacho, Hoyle and Mainu gets bubble wrapped.
Ten Hag, basically.
Yeah.
Nora.
I hope that's right. So that means then Bruno and Rashford will have to go. and that we don't need to have poster boys anymore. Get rid of this poster boy FC commercial reality. If that's right, I can get behind that, but unfortunately, I don't think so. I think Ahmad comes on, and you see the technical footballer, and in terms of even fighting and being aggressive and getting the ball back and tracking back, all of that is there. But I'm like, some of these guys have not pulled up trees this season other than Garnacho, really. So why has he not got more game time? I'm shocked. And his excuses,
I can't understand that, yeah.
You know what? His excuses, he's had a big injury. Listen, that was how many how many months ago is that?
Who hasn't?
Yeah, hasn't? You literally played Luke Shaw when Luke Shaw was telling people, ooh, you know what? I need to be careful, and you were risking it. You're risking Martinez back when he's not 100% fit. Like, so come on, Ten Hag, behave yourself.
Yeah. I'm hoping with the the latest injury to McTominay, I think he's come out tonight and said, somebody said that he's come out tonight and said he's not injured. I don't know, but I'm hoping that Ahmad gets a lot more game time at the weekend because he certainly deserves it.
Yeah, I've read it on his Insta. Basically, everybody was worried for McTominay because of his goals literally took Scotland to the Euros. Yeah. So everybody was shocked because the way he banged the ground, we were thinking it's a cruciate ligament.
Yeah.
But we're just so happy for him that he can play in the Euros. So, but he needs to take it easy for me, Scott.
Is he out for the season? But he's back for the Euros.
I think he said he's out for a couple of weeks. I think he might be back for the cup final. But he's injured for now. But I think he's hyperflexed his knee the way he did it last time. Yeah, and that needs strengthening. That needs work. You don't need to be rushed back. It needs strengthening. So
and it takes a lot of. We remember Zlatan hyperflexed his knee, and when he got that injured, and he was out for almost a year after that. So it takes a lot of time. As a player, I've had that myself, and you feel it all season long. It never goes away.
It's horrible. It's horrible. It destabilizes the whole of the knee, so that your knee starts giving way. Yeah. If you had it, you had it.
Moving on to the next.
It's only in certain situations when you really stretch yourself. Yeah, you feel it. So it's not a good one.
Just got seven more questions, so I'm going to just kind of move on. Sorry, if you don't mind, gents. So next question: could you see Ten Hag here next season?
You can do that, Phil.
So for me, part of me can. So either INEOS are in place now, we know that, and they know that the team they're going to have around them, from what we believe, from what we hear about the sort of people they've got on board, they're not just going to sit back and just wait till the end of the season and then start to make some decisions. They know exactly what plan they've got in place. They know exactly what's going to happen from here on. And either Ten Hag has been lied to, he's the greatest liar in Premier League history, or he really has been given the backing that he will be supported next season. I think I just want to see Ten Hag. See, if you just go back very quickly to when Ten Hag first joined us, there was stuff all over social media comparing United's players doing Ten Hag's training to Ajax players doing Ten Hag's training. And the Ajax players had it down to an absolute T because he knew. So it's not about what Ten Hag can't tell his players what he wants to do. It's getting the players in to do it. And he's got to build that with his squad, with the money that he's given. He was given I forgot the name, the striker who scored from Burnley. Weghorst. Yeah. That sort of thing is. I know he's had a couple of big signings. I'm not denying that. But in terms of when you're given a little bit of extra, a bit of this and a bit of that sort of thing to pay for the cracks, or he might do as an extra player sort of thing. It doesn't work. So I'd just love to see a full season with the players, with the backing of the board, with the right people who are negotiating the players at the right deals, and given a chance for. I don't. It's hard because you go, well, we've seen the season that's just happened, but I just want to see a season because don't forget before Ten Hag joined us. All right, City's got Pep, but they were certainly linked to wanting him as the next, and they're not stupid. We've seen that. All right, it might be with the 115, but apart from that, and I think Arsenal possibly linked him and stuff like that. So clubs, and now we've seen him linked to to Bayern and other things like that. You see, there's still big clubs wanting this. They believe in something, you know. And now we've seen Ranić, who we let go, who's potentially been heavily linked to Bayern. So I just think we've got to be sensible before we start to go, we'll have him, sort of thing. At the end of the day, we're building something with the board, and I'd just like to see him given, and I say this hard. I say it from my heart, not from my head. I'd like to see him be given another chance.
Okay.
But it's a difficult one because I know
it's a difficult one for me too. But Noradin, quick one. Do you like to see Ten Hag next season, or
at this moment in time, he's not showing me he's learned from any of the mistakes that he's doing, and I don't think even with all his team fit, he's gonna do what I just genuinely believe his football is not, other than if he went back to how he played last season. The way
if you win the FA Cup final, let's say the most important game of the season. Yeah,
I mean, that would be papering over the crap, because he's not learned. He doesn't understand the league. He wants to stick with 14 players, and he can't. You need to have 18, 19 players that you rely on. You need to build a squad in this country. And Eredivisie is just a massive gap, huge gap. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Slot at Liverpool, to see how quickly he gets it, because I just believe we're too toxic, too rotten, right? And too many problems at him. And I genuinely think his football is not going to be, unless he changes fundamentally. And it's going to be interesting because he's going to be that. So Erik Ten Hag under a different instructions, because he has said that. He said the club decide what football they want to play. You know what I mean? He said that before. So if they would say play this football, and if what we're reading is right, Wilcox and that saying you need to play more possession football, we're gonna get you this type of players, maybe, but not the way it is now. Not this not this way to play where single pivot and playing with players who haven't got the physicality that play man on man. I don't see it.
Yep, fair enough.
Okay. Next question. How long should we wait for Ashcroft? I say go elsewhere. That's from Madhouse. What do you think, Jarvis? Do you think we should wait for Ashcroft?
I heard someone say on a show today, it's better to walk in the right direction than run into the wrong direction. So I would definitely wait for Ashcroft. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Isn't he taking Newcastle to a tribunal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shearer's come out and said to me, and he said it's going to be sorted soon. So at the end of the day, to me, for Shearer to be saying it, he knows something that's going on inside the club. And I think at the end of the day, we should wait. We've got a structure that we're taking some of the best, and we just need to get on with it and carry on. Moving on to the next question. So Pannel, I think we've half answered this throughout the show, sort of thing. If we had Shaw and Martinez for more games, how many more points do you think we'd have had? Obviously, it's hard to put a number on it, but I suppose we can answer it as a general. Do you think we'd have had better results? Do you think we'd have not conceded as many late goals? I think that's the thing for me. We've conceded a lot of late goals recently. I just don't think Martinez, when he was at his best, not when he came back for that one game, when he was at his best, would have allowed, he'd have got a lot more blocks in, he'd have played a bit more composure sort of thing. And Shaw as well, I think, with some of the running down the wing and the overlap runs that he's so good at. With the likes of Rashford and stuff like that, whose game's changed since Shaw's been injured. So, I think we probably would have had more points because Shaw does do a lot of driving runs down the left and also cutting in through the centre forward sort of thing. I think we would have had definitely more points, but it's hard to say. And I think for me, it's more about the points we wouldn't have lost as opposed to the points that we would have gained. I know it's the same thing, but do you know what I mean? We've lost more points.
Defensively would be better, 100%.
Yeah.
Defensively would be better.
Yeah, we had them. We had both Shaw and Martinez back. There were 3 games. I think it was against Newport, Wolves, and the 3-0 win against West Ham. And those 3 games, we looked okay, I would say, and we could definitely see that something was happening. We were like everything clicked in a way. Especially the West Ham game.
We were playing through Martinez.
And the Wolves game up until they both were subbed off because of minor injuries. In the Wolves game, we were up, I think 3-0, and we won the game 4-3 with the Manu goal late that game. So I think we would have been doing much better, more similar to last season, but not competing for the league.
Okay, a question that came up earlier. We were talking, Nuruddin, you were talking about all the players who should go. There's a question saying, who do you think we should keep? And I think that's something that's just obviously the opposite of that. Based on, we were talking about all the players that don't need to be here anymore. One of the questions is like, who should we keep, sort of thing. I think it was a tongue in cheek when it was said, but it's still been started as a question, sort of thing. Who do you think we should keep going into next season?
Martinez, Diego Dalot, Kobe, Garnacho, Rasmus.
Onana?
I don't rate him whatsoever. I don't genuinely rate him. I think the balls, when it's right down by his side, he doesn't get down quick enough. I think things in the air, he's good at getting the ball. Like, he made an amazing, fantastic, reactive save against Burnley on that. But I think anywhere down on his floor, he can't get down. He can't. He's very susceptible. No. And players know where to put the ball now. Yeah. And he can't even get across because of the ball. So for me, I genuinely don't rate him. And I never wanted to get rid of the young lad, Kova. I thought he had brilliant attributes. Yeah, brilliant attributes. Kova, so that's what I would keep. Ahmad, that's what I would keep. That's what I would keep. Maybe, I would keep those guys.
Kambwala, definitely. I mean, obviously, he's one of the new
all
kids.
The younger players, I would keep. I mean, if you had a different coach, if you're going to go for a different coach who's more structured football, then I won't get rid of Casemiro, like, in that sense, because I know he's old, but for a bit of experience and solidity, if we had players around him and not exposing him, then but under Eric Ten Hag system, we want 11 physical players who can play one-on-one, who can win second balls and can play man for man. And
the difficult ones is Maguire and McTominay, actually, because of they are always available, as squad players. They could put in a shift. I don't rate them per se, but as squad players, I think they could do a vital job. And one more player I would keep is Johnny Evans, just because of his experience and I know.
I think they're offering him a coaching role. I think his legs are gone. I think the injuries said it all. But to be that, the medical department is crap.
Yeah, as fifth choice centre back, I think he could do a role as a squad player.
But for me, I just think Maguire, and I think Manchester United need to turn a new leaf. I genuinely do think that. I think we need to have a different kind of players with a certain level of technical quality to be on our bench. I genuinely wouldn't. I think characters, but I think Manchester United need to turn a new leaf. And I think those players are damaged psychologically by heavy defeats against rivals and stuff like that. All of those I would get rid of, because those things are still there. And you know what? None of them are we need technically sound footballers. I want to be able to keep the ball.
Do you remember when Mark Hughes was at Man City and there was that famous thing on Sky Sports or wherever it was, other shows are available, and there was like 5 signings that he'd made at once, and there was some big names there who are now still here, sort of thing, and their first season they were awful. They just didn't work. They just didn't gel together, but they need time. But that's the sort of culture shock that you're talking about. We need to go out and get 5 big signings, something like that. I don't mean like under £1 million signings, just 5 impact signings that are really going to make a big difference. And one that's really important on these signings is getting them in early. Getting them in early. Don't
especially this year, the Euro. Especially this year with the Euro and the Copa America. It's Copa America's on. I think the Copa America's on as well this summer.
Yeah.
Crazy.
2 questions left. Pannel, don't you think Ten Hag's being told to play Rashford because he's paid too much to be on the bench?
They don't have to explicitly say that, but you know who are the poster boys. As the manager, as a coach, you understand who the poster boys are. Who are the commercial part of the club pushing? You know what I mean? Who they're pushing. It's really interesting on that overlap. Gary Neville actually let the cat out of the bag. He said remember like when these players, when I think it was Ole Gunnar, he was talking to somebody or Rio or some of the, it was like, remember when it changed, and we were like the commercial, they kept taking you for adverts. Remember when it changed, and you had to like
he did
be careful about it. So for me, they are the two, Bruno and Rashford are the two players who are pushed the most commercially, and they don't. You don't have to say it to the manager to play. It's just it's unsaid language. Yeah. It doesn't need to be explicit as that.
The last question is for you, Nuruddin. It's probably the biggest question we've had all night, actually. Can you send me Scholes' autograph?
You should see him. He's gone into his little bed and now he's just curled up. He's tired. He's been out. He's been out and about. He is, he's out and about. But I actually seen the real Paul Scholes about a month ago in the city centre, and he's just honestly just walking with another guy, and not many people recognized him. And I cycled past, and I was like, Paul, I said hello to him. I just said, what a legend and what a joy. I sang the song for him. I sang the song that we had. You know what I mean? He scores goals. Yeah, that's what I scores. Yeah, and then he was like, not the later. Well, the later of my career, I didn't. But I like, listen, when you burst into the scene, I was like, who's that ginger nut? That's what we were all like. You were banging in goals, mate. I've never seen somebody strike a ball with better technique. What a player. Did you see him answering back to Ten Hag when Ten Hag said 95 team? Paul Scholes came out, I was like, actually, we were a pretty decent team. Eric Ten Hag was using that and saying, look at the 95 team. 2005 team, sorry, they were, they were being built, and they're like, that team was incredible. That team finished third to one of the best Chelsea teams in the history of Chelsea, and then the Invisibles, which were the Invisibles the season before, and we finished third that season and won the League Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Fantastic answer. That wraps it up. We are at the end of the show, 1 hour 16 minutes. So this was a Scorsese movie after all. Always when it comes to Jarvis's corner. Before we leave, do you have any socials, Phil? Do you want to shout them out?
At Phil Standish on X. That's it. Obviously you can find me on any sort of social media with that same tag. But yeah, it's give me a shout, give me a follow. Always good for a chat sort of thing. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it, and hopefully it won't be as long next time.
Yeah, fantastic.
And it's good to be on a show with you, Nuruddin. I've not been on a show with you before, sort of thing. So I appreciate it, mate. Yeah,
definitely. Same here. It's good to have a robust discussion and debate. Always love.
So Nuruddin, we want to shout out your channel.
Yeah, it's the structure on Twitter. That guy Red Devil, and then it's United Real Therapy. And God, did we not need therapy, eh? We need a therapy. It's the therapy. It's where we shout, we scream, we kick off, we F and blind. It is because we tell what we feel. We don't hold anything back. So yeah, if you don't want any swearing and effing and blinding and everything, then it's not for you.
Yeah.
And also laugh as well. We laugh a lot, to be fair, because that's what you have to do.
True. Yeah. So people, thank you for watching. I want to thank Riot, Lilis, Red J, Royden, Ramo, Ivo Bosic, The Routinator, Yale Malmi, number 1 MILF Hunter, what a name, Red J, so many people, Boxing Straight Talk, all of you who have been watching the show, contributing with good comments and questions. Thank you for watching. Jarvis's Corner will be back next Monday. Oh, no, we won't, because that's the
59 likes, 110 people watching. Make sure you hit that like button, people, before you leave. Please make sure you do that.
We haven't asked you once.
Stop like the Glazers, man. What is this? You're moving like the Glazers. It's for free. Like the show. It's the least you could do. For a channel that's been shadow banned as well. Come on.
And I forgot about Madhouse. How could I forget Madhouse with his great comments? Funny guy. And Lilis, 2 hours. What a great stream. So guys and girls and everybody watching, thank you. We won't be back next Monday because there's a game against Crystal Palace. So maybe we will do a Jarvis's Corner on Tuesday, but I don't know yet. We will see. But that's the end of the show. I will find the outro and see you on the next. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.